publishing when he did start it. There is a good reason for that. The history of his story. That's what I call this program. In fact, it is a fulfillment of a vision that Ellen White had. The vision about one of God's most effective ways of sowing the gospel seed. We go into homes where pastors will never come. Tomorrow morning we're going to have a program where we're going to talk about outreach and what we can do as literature evangelism. I'm excited about that. There are 4 areas that we are going to look at in the next 45 minutes. By 10:30 sharp, we will stop. Maybe a little bit before. We will first look at the history and development of publishing. Number 2, the role in the development of the church. What did publishing do for the church since it started? Number 3, the local church and the literature ministry. And then number 4, the philosophy of the literature ministry. Now there is one whole topic, we're going to do it this afternoon, on philosophy of literature ministry. So we will only touch on number 4 a little bit this morning. Let's look at ancient writing methods. You had the cuneiform and the hieroglyphics, and they look different, of course. It looked like Chinese. The Egyptians, they used the hieroglyphics. If you talk about a bird, they make a picture of a bird. And then you have the cuneiform. I think this was used by the Arabs. Is that right, Pastor Dave? The Arabs used it in the place where Abraham came from. That was their type of writing. Let's just look at hieroglyphics here. This script was originally a pure picture writing and consisted of about 750 signs. But it didn't stay with 750 signs. This number grew until about 2,500 signs were eventually used. Now, how many signs do we use? 20? Well, in Romania they have 28. We have 26. Is that right? We have 26. Okay. Ancient writing material, the parchment, and of course the clay tablets. In the time when they used the clay tablets, if they had to put your Sabbath school quarterly on clay tablets today, you would need about 500 people to bring your Sabbath school quarterly to church. Maybe that's one way of getting people to church, I don't know. But today we have paper. You can carry your own publishing, your own Sabbath school quarterly. Isn't that true? That is what they had in years gone by. You can say, if I go too fast, Dead Sea Scrolls. Now maybe we've heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls. 1947 it was found in the Qumran caves. It contained the original manuscript of the book of Isaiah and other books of the Bible written on parchment. And this is the most amazing thing to me. It was discovered so many years later. What does it say there? It was about 1,000 years later, these manuscripts were found in caves near the Dead Sea. Those parchment were still readable. It still looked very good. I've seen it in a museum in Jerusalem. It looks very good after 1,000 years. Most paper today, if you keep it for 1,000 years, what would it look like? I don't think you'll be able to read it. It will be brittle. Of course, those are a little bit brittle as well, but it's still readable. Development of printing. It was 105 AD that the Chinese discovered paper making. Now, in the East, I always had a joke when I give a class like this, and there were a whole group of Chinese there, you know. When you said that Chinese discovered paper making, oh, they are very happy, you know, amen, and they're happy. But when I give them the next line, then they are deflated immediately, because it was the Italians who developed the process of mass production of paper. It was not the Chinese. And it was more than 1,000 years after paper was discovered. Just look at that. 1423, Lawrence Coster, he had a workshop where he was trying to do some paperwork, but one day he was walking with his wife and his 2 children in the park. It was a Sunday, they told us, and he carved the names of his children out, the initials of his children, in the bark of a tree. But he carved it too deep and the letters fell out on the sand. And when he picked it up, there was the initials of his children, of course upside down. And he thought, well, this is a good idea. I can take wood and make letters, and I can print. Of course, it was a good idea, but wood is not a good idea. He used it once and it was finished. He had to make it over again, and he stopped. He says, no, this won't work. This won't work. But he had an apprentice by the name of Gutenberg, Johann Gutenberg. Gutenberg watched his boss and he says, well, he said to himself, he says, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make these letters of metal. Clever guy. But he didn't tell his boss. Maybe that was not so good. But he didn't tell his boss. And he carved the letters of metal. And he invented movable type, the letterpress. This was the first printing press. It looked like this. 1448. That was Gutenberg's invention of the movable type. Printing of the first book. It took 8 years in preparation. It took Gutenberg 8 years to make, because he kept it a secret. He didn't want to tell anybody about it. It took him 8 years to make enough letters. Of course, he couldn't only make one S and one E and one R, so he had to make a whole set. And then the first book was printed. You guess which was the first book that was printed? It was the Bible. Why? What do you think? Why was it the Bible?
God's plan.
That was God's plan to me. It was God's plan. I tell you, printing was invented by God and by nobody else. He gave Gutenberg that idea to do this, and he did it. Because God wanted the Bible in the hands of everybody on this earth. It contained 42 lines on each page. Of course, before that, they were writing the Bible by hand. It took them a long time, as you see a little later. Now they could print it, and on every page there were 42 lines. When you write it by hand, sometimes there are 45 lines, and sometimes there are 40 lines, and they differ. Every book was different. Printing was done in secrecy. The first printing was done in 1456. 1448 to 1456, it took him to make the letters. And then Johann Fust. Of course, Johann Gutenberg said, I've got the letters, I've got the ink, I've got everything now, but I don't have money for the paper. Paper was made in mass production, but it was very expensive. So he knew a friend by the name of Johann Fust. He went to Johann Fust and he said to him, Johann, I've got a secret and I don't want to share it with other people. But I have to share it with you because, Johann, I know you've got the money. I need paper. And he told him the plan. Johann Fust was very excited. He said to him, I'll give you the money to do the printing, to buy the paper. But I'm your first salesman. I'm your first literature evangelist. You give me those Bibles and I'll sell them for you. And then the whole Bible was printed. The first 2 buyers, this is interesting, the first 2 buyers. Number 1 was King Charles VII of France. Are we afraid to go to kings with the books that we have? I don't think we should. I think we should go to Thabo Mbeki. We should go to all these people and sell them books. He went to the king of France and he sold him a Bible. The second one was the Archbishop of Paris. And one day the Archbishop was visiting the king. They were good friends. And the king came out with his Bible and he said to the Archbishop, he says, just look what I've got. Isn't this a beautiful Bible? They thought it was written by hand, of course. Isn't this beautiful? The Archbishop said, but I've got the book exactly the same. Counted the lines, 42 lines. And you know what the Archbishop did? He said, gather those Bibles and let's burn it because this is from the devil. You see, the church, the Catholic Church, didn't want the people to read the Bible. And he thought this was the wrong thing to do. How can you produce the Bible in mass? You cannot do that. The Archbishop thought it was the work of the devil. The Bibles were burned and the Waldenses were burned with them. Friends, if they want to burn us because of the great controversy and of the Bibles and the Bible stories and the Bible readings for the home, let them burn us. If this is the only way to put us on fire, let them put us on fire. We go for the Lord. Next one, the great breakthrough. Of course, now they could print things. Documents and manuscripts and books were written by hand up to 1456. It took a man 28 to 30 years, full time, to write the Bible by hand. Now, some of those monks did it. 1456, Gutenberg invented movable type press. He printed 30 sheets of paper an hour, and that was excellent. 30 sheets of paper an hour. You guess how many sheets of paper we print today in 1 hour? Oh, sorry, that was too fast. That was too fast. That was too fast. Can we go back? That is 1 million sheets per hour. I stood at the Pacific Press and also at the Review and Herald with those machines. You walk in at that door and the machine starts there. It goes that way, and half of that wall as well. They put the paper in there, and it's huge rolls of paper. The paper runs in there. The book comes in out here without touch of a human hand. The whole machine, the machine does the whole job. And they run fast. 1 million sheets of paper in 1 hour. That's tremendous. The Lord wants the message to go. It's not the truth for him. He wants it to go. Publishing of the Gospel. 1500 AD, there were about 1,000 printing shops in Europe. Of course, they did not only print Bibles. Very few of them printed Bibles. Most of them printed for the devil, like they do today. But there were some good ones as well. The heroes of the Gospel, the reformers. Think of John Wycliffe. He died in 1384. It was before the printing press was invented. His message almost died with him. We know very little about John Wycliffe and his message today, because they couldn't print it. If they could print these sermons, I think it would have been wonderful. The same with John Huss. He was burnt in 1415. Now, when was the printing invented? 1456. 1450. This was just before, a few years before. But it fell dead because there was no printing press. Number 3, Johann Gutenberg, 1448 to 1456, his preparation, and then Martin Luther. Now it is 1517, printing presses everywhere. His 95 theses there on the door of the church. They could take it down and they could print it immediately and sow the gospel seed. That's how it started. And there was a great awakening. Let's go to the next one then. The 18th century, we have Wesley, Whitfield, we have Miller, Hines, Lynch, Bates. Then came the Great Disappointment in 1844, and then Ellen White's Publishing Vision in 1848. I wish you could memorize that vision, because it is very interesting. There it is. You must begin to print a little paper. Let it be small at first, but as you read, the people will send you means with which to print. And it will be a success from the first. From this small beginning, it was shown to me to be like streams of light that went clear around the world. Galatians chapter 4, verse 4. When the fullness of time was come. Galatians 4, vers 4. I speak a little Afrikaans now and then because it gives me a little rest here. Galatians 4, vers 4. Toe die volheid van die tyd gekom het, toe die regte tyd gekom het, het die Here drukwerk laat uitvind. Is dit nie waar nie? When the right time came, when God's appointed time, the printing press became a mighty instrument to proclaim the gospel. Friends, we are a privileged people in 2008. Absolutely, we are very, very privileged. Print. That was Ellen White's message. The first SDA paper was the Present Truth, and that was as a response to the mandate of the vision. Remember, the vision said you must write, you must publish, you must circulate, and it must be like streams of light going clear around the world. And that's exactly what happened. Now this is interesting. 1848, I want you to keep in your mind the dates now. 1848, you must begin to print. That was the vision. 1 year later, James White printed the first paper, 1849. Was there a Seventh-day Adventist church in 1849? No, there was not. Was there a general conference in 1849? Was there a union or any conference? No, not yet. Not yet. But printing was done first. Is that right? Interesting. 1850, another paper called Second Advent Review and Sabbath Herald. We know it today by the name of the Review. You don't get it, try and get it. It's a good paper. 1852, James White purchased a small hand press. That was the first press owned by Sabbath-keeping people. No church yet. No church yet. 1855, the press moved to Battle Creek. Just give you a little history. In 1860, that is 12 years after the vision, the church named the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then in 1863, the General Conference was organized. That's 15 years after the vision. Now I want you to read 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 28. If somebody read it for us. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 28.
It says, and God has appointed these in the church: first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, administrations, varieties of tongues.
Okay, Frank, we are going to start with the last one. What was the last one that you read?
Varieties of tongues.
Tongues. Do we speak in tongues in the Adventist church?
Yes.
Do we?
Hier 260.
Yes.
We speak in about 278 tongues. We speak in tongues in the Adventist church. Of course we do. So that is in the church. What was the second one?
Administrations.
Do we have administrators in the church? In the conferences, in the unions, in the division? Of course we have. So that is in the church. And we work from the bottom up. The next one?
Then the helps.
Helps. Those people typing in the offices, those people cleaning the floor, those people doing all those kind of things. Those are the helpers. Okay, the next one?
Then gifts of healings.
Healing and?
Gifts, it just gives us healings, then after that miracles.
Miracles and healing. Do we have hospitals where we see miracles and healing? There's one hospital in Penang, on Penang Island in the east. Big mission hospital. We have over 400 beds, the Adventist hospital. And I like what they've written right in front. And remember, this is a Muslim land, Muslim country. It says, God heals, we help. God heals, we help. I always like that. That was good. Okay, we've got miracles of healing. Okay, next one.
The teachers.
Teachers, who are the teachers? Schools, colleges, the next one.
Second prophets.
Prophets, who are the prophets? I'm not talking about Ellen White now. Who are the prophets? Who are the mouthpieces of God in the church today? Apostles, is that right? That's right. And then the next one?
That's the first apostles.
You read the first part of the verse again.
It says, and God has appointed these in the church. First apostles.
First apostles. Now who are the apostles? What is an apostle? Person sent out, is that right? And literature evangelists are sent out. It says first. Before the rest, first apostles. Don't you find that very interesting? The word first in there, to me, is very important. Okay, let's go to the next one here. The message around the world. From this humble beginning, the literature ministry has circled the globe, proclaiming the gospel as Ellen White saw it in her vision. Today we have 65 publishing houses around the world. We have 278 languages, more than 278 now, used in printing. The steps to Christ alone, I believe it's now over 140 languages for steps to Christ alone. Very few books, except for the Bible, very few books with so many languages in which you can find it. We have just under 40,000 literature evangelists. Some people say a little over, but the report tells me about 39,000 something literature evangelists. And then we have little more than 60,000 baptisms a year from contacts of literature evangelists. Susan, maak dit jou opgewonde? Sure it does. Sure it does. I want to have a part in finishing the work, friends. Don't you feel the same? I've got to be a part of it. Preparing people for heaven. The publications sent forth from our publishing houses are to prepare a people to meet God. What a responsibility. It's not only selling books, not only selling those easy books in the homes, but getting the truth into the homes. That is the main object. Throughout the world, they are to do the same work that was done by John the Baptist for the Jewish nation. George King, of course, was the first person to become a preacher. He wanted to become a preacher. But in 1870, the General Conference said to him, no, you are not suitable for this job. He started going out with small books, tracts. The first week he sold 64 cents. And he thought that was a great success. And that's how we started selling literature. Now we have an army of more than 40,000 or close to 40,000 literature evangelists around the world. Review and Herald, January 24, 1882. A call is made for literature evangelists, for men and women who will speak boldly and act wisely in the closing scenes of Earth's history. For men who will volunteer their services till the work is done. They will hold on in fear of God when the work goes hard. For men who will make a grand success of life. And ladies as well. Ladies are doing a great work. Some of our best literature evangelists in the world are ladies. I've got nothing against ladies. My mother was a lady. Here is the vision. The vision said, you must begin to print the little paper and send it to the people. Let it be small at first. It will be a success from the first. And we've read it. Fulfillment of the vision. Let's look at this. In 1888, a man by the name of Braam went to Hong Kong with books, printed material. Now, Braam was a retired seaman. Hy was 'n matroos en hy het afgetree. He was 64 years old already. He went to General Conference and living in America. He went to General Conference and he asked them, please send me as a missionary to the Far East. No, they said, you're too old. 64, you're too old. How wrong they were, friend. How wrong they were. 64 is not old, is it? No ways. That's when you start. 64. And he said, okay, if you don't want to send me. He packed a lot of boxes, suitcase. He went to the harbor, to the port, and he knew enough captains on the boats. And he asked one of the captains, he says, can I work my way to Hong Kong? They knew him. They said, okay, you get on, put your things on, and they took him to Hong Kong, and he worked on the boat. They put him off in Hong Kong, and he started his work. Slowly, because it's tough. Among the local people there, the Chinese, it's not easy. It took him 15 years to see the first results. 15 years. 1903, he saw the first results. But Braam stayed there. He was the first literature evangelist in the Far East. He was the first Seventh-day Adventist in the Far East. Now today, in the Far East, we have close, very close, to 2,000 literature evangelists. Adventists, close to 2 million. One man went there. He went to Japan as well. While he was around there, he went to Japan. This man was traveling on the boats. A man by the name of H.B. Myers went to Myanmar. We used to know it as Burma before. The new name is Myanmar. And then in 1903, he came to Singapore. He went to Malaysia, while in Singapore, it's close to each other. A man by the name of Caldwell was sent to Thailand, Brunei. I need to tell you about Brunei. If time catches up with us, we can finish later. We sent a man by the name of Richard Moss. We were in, it was in 1994-95. We sent Richard Moss to Brunei. Peter Ching started there, but the thing fell flat. So we asked Richard Moss, he was one of my literature evangelists, we said to him, you are in Borneo, and of course, if you think of Brunei, it's part of Borneo. Pack your bags, take your car and go to Brunei and see if you can reach some people there with the truth. He hesitated, especially his wife hesitated, because it's a Muslim country, Brunei, and you are not allowed to bring Bibles into Brunei. But how he did it, I don't know. But he packed his car and he crossed the border, and they didn't find the books on him. And he started selling. He went on Sunday. Monday morning he started selling books, visiting people. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. By Wednesday night he sat in his hotel room, and there was an announcement on the screen of the television. It says, a man is going around enrolling people for Voice of Prophecy lessons, for Bible lessons, and selling Christian books. The police have been ordered to find him and execute him. That's Muslim country. That's Muslim country. He packed his bags that same night and he left. But some books were sold. In one home, it was a high officer of the Sultan. One of his officers, his wife became sick. Just after this man left now. The wife became sick. And they looked for a physiotherapist and they couldn't find one anywhere. They found one eventually in Philippines. They flew her over to Brunei. This lady was a Seventh-day Adventist. They did not know it. Strong Muslim people, an Adventist physiotherapist, staying with them for 6 weeks to treat the lady of the house. And during the time, they became good friends. Of course, the Muslim discovered very soon that this lady will do certain work during weekdays, but on Saturday she won't do certain work. And of course he started asking questions. And she was very strong. As far as an Adventist is concerned, she said, I don't work on Saturday. And then one day he took her into his study, a big study. He's a well-to-do man. He's a high-up man. He said to her, you see all these books. You can name any book you want to. I've got that book in my bookshelf. She looked through and she said to him, sir, I missed 2 books. And she said to this Muslim man, the first one I miss is the Bible, the Holy Bible. He took it out from behind the books. He was hiding it. Of course, he's not supposed to have it. But he had the Bible with him. And he said, which is the other one? She said, the book, The Great Controversy. He took it out from behind the books, The Great Controversy. He bought it from that literature evangelist who went in there. Today we have 45 people, or when we left there, we had 45 people worshipping in Brunei on the Sabbath as the result of one man who risked his life to go in there. Okay, let's go to the next. I take too long with stories. Where's the next one then? You got stuck there? Okay, let's look around the world. It's stuck. There it is. Great Britain, 1878. It was a literature evangelist who started the church in Great Britain. What about South Africa? Also 1878, a man by the name of William Hunt. He came to Kimberley and he had books of literature with him. And that's how Peter Wessels got hold of it. And Van Druten. It was with literature it started. The next one, Brazil. I'm going to put them all on there. Just move them all on there. There it is. Okay, we are going. There it is. Paraguay, West Africa, India. I think we have. No, we don't have Ivory Coast here. Unfortunately not. But I think Ivory Coast was also reached first there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Literature ministry today. Let's look at this. We are selling books. And some people confuse this. They say you are only making money. That's not true. That's not true. We are selling and we render a service. And we know how to balance the two. If you don't know how to balance the two, you can run away with making money. Or you can run away with winning souls. You can run away with that. And selling is earning a livelihood. We don't ask the church for money because we earn our own money by selling books. But at the same time, we are winning souls. And literature evangelists are very good soul winners. We sell health books and we find interest. We sell educational books, we give out free literature. Youth books and voice of prophecy enrollments. Spiritual books and we give Bible studies. Religious books, we pray with the people. Friends, our work is a spiritual work. We must not forget that. We must not forget that. The ultimate objective is to prepare the people to meet God. That's what the Lord called us to do. We must not forget that. Our literature ministry was established by the direction of God and under His special supervision. It was designed to accomplish a special purpose. To me, this is a very strong statement from 7 Testaments, page 138. It was established by the direction of God and under His special supervision. That's why I am not afraid. Ellen White says we will never be without work before the door of probation closes. Our publications are preaching. Our publications should go everywhere. There are places in which the voice of the minister cannot be heard. Places which can be reached only by our publications. We've seen it so many times. It was the other day in the church in Clarksville. I was asked to go and preach there just a few months ago. And that morning, between Sabbath school and divine service, a man came to me and he said to me, "Is your name really Braam, Oberholster?" I said, "Yes, that's my name." He says, "Didn't you leave a book, Climax of the Ages, Great Controversy, in our home in 1964? He said, "My parents never read it. I read it, that's why I'm in church today." It's possible that the pastor would never have gotten into that home. But because the message in there, today we have Seventh-day Adventists as a result. We have people ready for the coming of Jesus as a result. That's wonderful. Okay, no, that was too fast again. That was too fast. Let me go. By the literature ministry, the truth is presented to thousands who otherwise would never hear it. It is serious. The literature ministry properly conducted is a missionary work of the highest order. It is as good and successful a method as can be employed for placing before the people the important truths for this time. Let's look at the field literature evangelist in action. I met this man for the first time in 1997 in Russia. Sergei Zadan. Now he was a student then at our college just outside Moscow, and he was selling books. Every Sunday he went out because his parents couldn't support him in college. So he went out every Sunday to sell books, and one Sunday he was selling a book, Desire of Ages. A lady ordered the book and he had to deliver it the next Sunday. The next Sunday when he came and he knocked on the door, 3rd floor of a block of apartments, he knocked on the door and she said to him from the inside, she said, who are you? He said, I just brought your book. Oh, she said, but the door is locked and the lock is broken. I cannot get out. I've been sitting here for 3 days already. So he asked her, do you have food? Yeah, I've got food. My son is coming this afternoon from Moscow to open the door for me. He thought, well, maybe this is just an excuse, you know, she doesn't want the book. And he turned around, and as he walked away, she called him. She said to him, young man, come back. Go downstairs, and from the pavement, you look up to my balcony, and you'll see me standing there. He went out, and he stood in the street on the sidewalk, and he looked up at the balcony on the 3rd floor. There she was with a piece of string, and tied on the end of the piece of string was the money, and she threw it down to him, holding on to the one end of the string. He tied the book. Took the money, tied the book, and she controlled. So she took the book up to a 3rd story apartment. Friends, isn't that wonderful? I like it. This is Sergey. In the meantime, he's married now to Helen, a lovely couple. This was training in Moscow. That one I've showed you earlier. This was also in Ukraine. That one was in Borneo. This was selling to Muslims. Don't be afraid of Muslims. You can sell books to Muslims. Especially if you concentrate on their health books. But what we did was we asked people while we present the health books, we asked them, are you perhaps interested in a quiet voice, interested in spiritual books as well? And we found many Muslims are interested in spiritual books, but they won't tell their friends. They will buy it and they will keep it in their homes. So don't be afraid. Okay, just a few places, and there you have a few people again. This is Swaziland. Swaziland, that's the group in Swaziland. Okay, a few of our people around here. That face we've seen before. That one we've seen before. Corrie, jy ken haar goed. Jeroen, Kendall. These are people involved in the literature ministry. God looks upon the faithful literature minister with as much approval as he looks upon any faithful minister. I'm in the ministry, there's no question about that. And you're in the ministry. We are preachers of the gospel. More than 1,000 will soon be converted in one day, most of whom will trace their first convictions to the reading of our publications. Let's look at the results. I'm going to do it fast. Okay, that's one. I went too fast there, sorry, I went too fast. If it doesn't want to work, I click it immediately again. We go back. No, we go back. Where are we now?
Don't click.
Don't click, okay. Go back to where we stopped. That's more than 1,000 will soon be converted in one day. Let's look at the results. Soon more than 1,000, okay? Do you know how many people are baptized in a day, average in a day, in 2008? I don't know 2008, but I can tell you 2006. It was more than 2,700 people in a day baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist Church. A day. It is growing very fast. And what is the quotation says there? Most of whom will trace their first convictions to the reading of our publications. And we find it is exactly what she said there. God is calling for more literature evangelists. There's no question about that. Our pastors can help. I'm glad the conference president is here. The last part of this program, developed for pastors, because sometimes at workers' meetings I talk to the pastors. They can encourage members to become literature evangelists. They can pray for the literature ministry. They can become involved by organizing an LE club. Elijah, in their church, thus teaching the members to become active soul winners. Our goal is 1 LE in every church in the Transvaal Conference. How many churches do we have here, Pastor Dave?
100.
100 churches in the Transvaal Conference. We need 100 literature evangelists.
100.
I said 100 literature evangelists, and it was quiet, very quiet. Let me try again. 100 literature evangelists. Okay, let's look at the pastor and the LE team. The pastor tries to reach his goal, the LE tries to reach his goal. They are pulling, they are sweating, they cannot make it. Oh yeah, and then they put their heads together. There is the bottom line. They put heads together. They say, okay, together we win. Let's reach our goal together, and we reach our goal together on the other side as well. That's what we should do. Isn't it true? Friends, it is a privilege to be a literature evangelist. And it brought excitement to us when the conference asked us to become literature evangelists again on a full-time basis. And we love it. And we love those who work in the literature ministry. May the Lord bless us. It's almost 10:30 now. Time for our drink. Shall we bow our heads, and we're going to ask Pastor Dave, would you just offer a word of prayer for us, please?
Lord, we thank you for this wonderful time that we can spend together thinking about your call to each one of us. And Lord, may we not forget these wonderful stories and your admonitions in your word to do something great for you. And Lord, I pray that you'll continue to be with us in this Sabbath day, that you'll show us what you want us to do, so that your message can be spread throughout this world. In Jesus' name. Amen.